Okay, here we are on Daf Kuf Vav Amid Bet, about 12 lines down. There was a 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Yeah, about 12 lines down. We're finished this discussion about Bilam, and now we begin the discussion of Doeg and Achitophel. So Doeg was one of the contemporary of David, an advisor of Shaul, and he's famously known for the massacre of the city of Nov, Ir HaKohanim, the city of the Kohanim, where David Melech, fleeing away from Shaul, goes there. They don't know that he's fleeing. They think that he's still the son-in-law and general of King Shaul, and they help him out. And Doeg is there. He sees this. He slanders them to King Shaul. Shaul says to kill them out, and of course Avner and Mossad, they say no, we're not going to do that. And Doeg, the Adomi, he takes it upon himself to go and kill out Nov Ir HaKohanim. So he spoke Lashon Hara, and he was a murderer. So let's learn a little bit about this individual who has no Olam Haba instead in our Mishnah. So we begin. Ktiv. It says Doeg Uchtiv Doyeg. It says Doeg, Dalet Aleph Gimel. In another place in Tanakh, his name is Dalet Vav Yud Gimel, Doyeg. Why the difference? Amar Yohanan. Ba'tehila. Yoshev HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'Doeg. In the beginning, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was sitting and he was worried. He was worried about Doeg. Is he going to leave the proper derech? Perhaps going to go to the bad conduct. And after he went on the wrong path, Amar Hashem said, Vai. Right? The Vav Yud. Vai. This one has gone out to bad conduct. So Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want to see people going in a bad derech. So it was very sad. And bye for Hashem. Okay. Now a little bit about Doeg. Siman, Gibor, Ashar, Sadiq, Hayil, Sofer. Amar Ibn Yitzchak. What does it mean when it says in Tehillim? Nun Bet. Pasuk Gimel. Ma tithalel b'ra'ah hagibor chesed el kol hayom. Why do you pride yourself with evil? Almighty warrior, God's kindness is all day long. What was Hashem saying? Hashem was saying to Doeg, Lo gibor b'torata, are you not a mighty warrior in Torah? You're an outstanding Talmid Chacham. Ma titalel b'ra'ah, what are you doing, taking pride in the evil? Am I not giving you loving kindness all day long? In your Torah, why are you doing evil? Amar Ibn Yitzchak ma dichtiv l'Rasha Amar Elohim ma lecha sefer chukai. What does it say? Hashem says to the wicked one, what purpose do you recount my decrees? Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu Doeg l'Rasha. Hashem said to Doeg l'Rasha ma lecha sefer chukai. Why are you learning Torah? Why are you teaching Torah? Kisharata magi le'parashat menetzachim, parashat misapri l'shon hara. When you come to the parsha of murdering, and you come to the parsha of Lashon Hara, what are you doing? How are you teaching that? How are you learning that when you yourself are committing those sins? How are you explaining them? Vetisa veriti ale picham. The pasuk continues, and bear my covenant upon your mouth. Amar b'yamai in Torato shel Doeg ela misafa velachut. Doeg's Torah was only from his lips outward. He didn't let them go from his lips inward to his heart, make him a better person. But rather, everything was just on the outside. His Torah was on the outside. Shalom. Omar b'Yitzchak, ma'in yichtiv, ve'yiru tzadikim, ve'yira'u, va'alav yishaku. The righteous will see and be frightened, and they will laugh at him. B'tchila yira'u. When they saw Doeg at the height of power, the tzaddikim were afraid. Here's a guy that they know is not learning Lishma. He's not learning for the right reasons. He's actually very evil, and he's winning all this power. They were scared. Ulvasov, he's haku. But when they saw he died prematurely, he died half his life he only lived. And then they laughed, and they said, you see, somebody who learns Torah and the wrong things and is doing the wrong things, he's not going to be rewarded for his evil deeds. He will be punished instead. Amari bin Yitzchak. My dichtim hayil balam by kienu mibitno yorishenu el. he has swallowed treasure and will disgorge it, will vomit it. God shall purge it from his gut. The word Hayel says the Ben Ishchai in his Ben Yoyada is Gematria 48. Hayel. Het Yud Lamed 48. Why 48? Because there's 48 ways that you are koneh the Torah. Right? We learned the Pirkei Avot. So 48 ways that Doeg was learning Torah. He got some Torah, and we have to make him lose it in order for him to punish it. Yamut Doeg. He let Doeg die. Amar lo, Hashem said to David, he's learned Torah. He has protection from the Torah. And he needs to forget it in order to lose that protection. So maybe to know Yereshenu El. Don't wait for him to forget it. Rather, purge it from his gut. Take it away from him. Cause Doeg to forget it early. In this way, he can get punished. Likewise, may Gad shatter you for eternity. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu David. The Holy One blesses he said to David, Nete Doeg la'alma da'ateh. Let Doeg be allowed to enter the world to come. Hashem said to David, I know Doeg is this bad guy, but let him come to Olam Haba. Amar Lefanav, Gam El Itotzcha Lanetzach. David said, no Olam Haba from Doeg. He's a really bad guy. Okay. Amar Lefanav, all right, so he said no. My Dichtiv, Yachtecha v'Yisachacha me'ohel v'Shereshecha me'eret Hayim Sela. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Le'emru shemata b'midrasha mishmei. Hashem said, okay, you don't want him to go to Olam Haba. Can we still have his name mentioned in the yeshivot? He was, after all, a Talmid Chacham. May God cut out and tear you from the tent, meaning he should not be in the yeshiva mentioned at all. Let him have descendants who are Torah scholars. David Melech said, no, uproot Doeg from the land of life, Selah, completely. And nothing should be left of Doeg. One of the reasons why David was kind of pushing for Doeg to be killed so fast and so this is we're going to see that if Doeg and Achitophel were at the same time, David Melech had no chance. These two people were very smart, very this, and if they lived at the same time, David Melech would not have a chance to fight against them. But this way, if Doeg is off the scene and Achitophel comes on, we still have a chance. And why so much to Olam Haba and stuff like that? And he was a person that really didn't deserve Olam Haba. All right, we have to have a better understanding, but that's what we have for now. Let's continue. Va'amar b'Yitzchak. My dichtiv ayesofer ayeshokel ayesofer et migdalim. Where is the one who can count? Where is the one who can weigh? Where is the one who can count the towers? Ayesofer. Where is the one who can count? Kol otiyot shebetorah. This is all the letters of the Torah, meaning that Doeg knew every single letter where everything was, every single how much everything. The guy with no computers, he knew everything. He was a very big Talmid Chacham. He's able to weigh and analyze, understand the Kal Chomers and explain left and right, everything. Who can count the towers? Who can count the towers? This refers to Doeg. He used to learn 300 halachot regarding the tower which floats in the air. What's a tower that floats in the air? So different opinions. Some have to say it has to do with some of it Tahara. Some want to say it's the Tower of Babel. Some want to say it's about a floating magical tower. So the different opinions of what it is. Regardless, you can look at note 34 for more. There's even more opinions than that. But regardless, he was able to say 300 lachot about this. Amar Rabbi Ami, Arba Me'ah. Baya Ba'u Doeg V'Achitophel Migdal Poreh Ba'avir. Doeg and Achitophel, although they didn't live at the same time, but they both were Talmid Chachamim, and they raised 400 halachic questions regarding the tower which floats in the air. The law ifshat lehu had, and such good questions they were never resolved. It just shows the extent of their scholarship. Amar Rava says, Rebuta it is so Rava is asking a question. Rava says, well, so they're learning so much, they're asking so much questions. Who cares? Since when does asking so many questions mean that they're so great? Right? And he gives a proof. In the years of Yehuda, they used to learn only say the Nezikin. But we, says Rava, we learn even not only say the Nezikin, we even learn say the Taharas. We learn Uktin about Tuma and Tahara, about the fruits and vegetables and the stems and the leaves. In fact, when Yehuda used to get up to a Mishnah regarding Uktzin, Isha Shekoveshet Yarag Bekedera, and some say Zaitim Shekavsham Betifrahen Tuhorim, when he came up to the place that spoke about that the leaves and the stems, where usually they could be Mikabel Tuma if they're used as a handle, but if they've been vegetable, they may be pickled, or they put into to make them soft, then they lose the status of handles, and then they cannot be Mikabel Tuma. So when he used to get to this type of teachings, Amar, he would say, I see here the need for penetrating questions of Rav and Shmuel, meaning he would comment that to understand it, he would need he would need the questions of his teachers. He did not fully understand the reasoning of the Mishnah, right? So he admitted that it was very hard for him to understand Uktzin. But us as Rava we have 13 different yeshivot teaching Uktzin. But that doesn't make us any better. Why? When there was a drought in his days, in Yehuda's days, he just needed to take off one of his shoes to show a sign of affliction, and rain would come immediately. But we, who learned so much Torah, and we know more than they did, we come and we daven, and Hashem doesn't answer us, right? We're doing so much things, and Hashem doesn't answer us. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda, he took off one shoe, already Hashem answered. Why? Hashem doesn't just want one's scholarship. Scholarship and learning Torah, very important. Very important. But it's not enough. Hashem also wants the heart to be in the right place. Hashem sees into the heart. We sort of want the Torah not to go from the lip outwards, like by Doeg, but we want the Torah to go from the lips inside, to turn the person into a better person. And that's what it means over here. Hashem is looking at the heart, not just the Torah scholarship, but also the heart that comes with the Talmid Chacham. Amar Rav Misharshia, Doeg v'Achitofel, lo savre shemata. Doeg and Achitofel never really understood what they were learning anyway, says Rav Misharshia. Matkif Mazutra says, what are you talking about? They didn't understand. You just said they understood everything. They knew all the letters, they knew all the questions, all the answers. They had all these halachot. You're saying they didn't really understand? Yeah, they learned. But they never were able to get to the conclusion of the actual halakha. Why? Because the secrets. So Hashem L'Re'av. Hashem's secrets is to those who fear him. If you don't have Yirat Hashem, you can learn, but you're never going to come to a proper conclusion of the halakha. Therefore, they didn't come to the proper conclusion. Therefore, it's like they learned, but they didn't learn because they just had all this scholarship and all these pilulim, but they didn't have the actual halakha in place. Okay. Amar Rabbi Ami. Rabbi Ami said, Lo med Doeg asher shachak tamudo. Doeg did not die until he forgot his learning. Shneimar hu yamut ve'em musar uvro ivlato yishke. He shall die bereft of wisdom, led into error by his great folly. Rav Ashi Amar Nitzara. Doeg was afflicted with tzarat. Shneimar. Hitzmata calls on imimecha. You cut down all who stray from you. And hitzmata can also mean sarat. Timatam litzmitut. Or mitargamin lahulutim. So you have here hitzmata. Hitzmata, it means like litzmitut. Umitzmitut is translated to halutin. Utnan en ben muskar muhlat. And the muhlat is a confirmed, right? Ela previa ufrima is a confirmed mitzorah. So you see the word umuhlat means confirmed mitzorah. And chalutin, which is related to muhlat, is a translation of tzimtut. And it says by him, hitzmata. So you see the doeg became a mitzorah. Doeg was afflicted with tzaraat. Siman shlosha. Ra'u b'chatzin ukra'o. 3 saw half and called him. That's the siman. What's going on? Amar bi Yohanan. Shlosha malachei habala nizdamenu lo ledoeg. 3 angels of punishment came to Doeg. Echad sheshikach talmudo. 1 made him forget his Torah, right? Because Torah, even though you're learning it not lishma, Torah still gives you the power of protection. So the first thing, they had to make him forget the Torah. This way he loses his protection. Then echad shesarap nishmato. Then they came and they burnt his neshama. They got rid of it, like karet, like they no more neshama. And one that scattered his ashes in the synagogues and the houses of study, then the tzaddikim would trample on them. So he was severely punished for the things that he did. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Doeg v'Achitofel, Lord always says, Doeg and Achitofel did not see each other. Doeg b'mei Shaul, v'Achitofel b'mei David. Doeg lived during the times of Shaul, right? And Achitofel was later on when David was king. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Doeg v'Achitofel lo hatu yamehem. Doeg and Achitofel didn't even live half their days. Right? Half their days would be less than 35, right? Because 70 was the lifespan. So half was 35. So less than half, it has to be less than 35. Men of bloodshed and deceit should not live out half their days. This is Doeg and Achitofel. Doeg only lived 34 years. Achitofel, he lived only to 33. Okay? He committed suicide, so he died even before he was supposed to die, and so to speak. And he also was cursed by David, and so he died at 33 and Doeg at 34. Amar Yochanan. At first, David called Ahitophel his Rebbe. He taught him not to learn alone. He taught him how to be kavod coming into the shul, into the Beit Midrash. And then he called him his friend. And in the end, then he called him his student. In the beginning, he called him his Rebbe. It says, Alufi. The Alufi means like a Rebbe. And then he called him a colleague. They work together, so they're like friends. In the end, they called him a student of David. He's eating my bread. He raised his hand to trample me. So eating my bread, meaning he's eating from David's Torah. Okay, so he became like a student now. Amar Yehuda Amar Rav Leolam. El yavi Adam atzmo l'nei nisayon. A person to not bring himself to a nisayon, to a test, to a temptation. Sharei David Melech Yisrael yavi atzmo l'nei nisayon v'nichshal. David HaMelech brought himself to a test, to a temptation, and he stumbled and made a sin to a degree. Amar lefanav. David HaMelech said to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, ריבונו של עולם, מפני מה אומרים אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, אלוהי יעקב, ואין אומרים אלוהי דוד? Why in the Shemona Esrei we say אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק, אלוהי יעקב? Why can't we also say אלוהי David? Now, why would we even think that? Why would David even ask that question? So in the note 4 on page 171, 2 reasons. Number 1, he was the first Jewish king from Shevet Yehuda. So he was like a father to the nation. So just like these are the Avot, he was also an Avot, and including the second paragraph, it says that David Melech was promised Va'asiti lecha shem gadol keshem hagadol l'mashem ba'aretz. I'll make you big like the name of the great ones on the land, just like Avraham and Yaakov were the great ones. Hashem said, I'll also make you that name. So he thought that he should also be included. Elohei David. So Amar Hashem said to him, in whom in they withstood tests. Therefore, they get this special honor. But you, David, did not overcome these tests. David said to Hashem, try me and test me. Give me a test. Shenema, as it says in Tehillim, Bechoneni Hashem v'naseni. Amar. So Hashem said to David, okay, I'll give you a test. I'm going to do something special for you that I didn't do for the Avot. For I did not inform them in advance that they would be tested. But I'm going to tell you and prepare you for your test. I'm going to give you a test when it comes to improper relationships with a woman. Okay. So this is we're coming now to the famous story of David and Bathsheba. Okay. Let's take a look. Miyad. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Miyad. Right away. Came to pass at the evening time, David arose from his bed. Okay, this is the beginning of the account of Bathsheba. And it came to pass at the evening time that David arose from his bed. Amar Yehuda. The day arose from his bed at evening, for he had to change his night bed into a day bed. Meaning that David HaMelech usually sleep at night. And you sleep with your with his wife at night. But he changed it around. He went and started sleeping with his wife during the day in order that he would be satiated from his temptations, from his wanting for a woman. And during the night, he wouldn't have any temptation because he already satisfied his needs early in the day. And therefore, he was getting up at night. Oh, so this is proof that the story happened at night, right? Ever katan, but he forgot halakha. Ever katan yesh b'adam. There's a small organ in the man. Masbi ora'ev. When you feed him, he gets starved. But when you keep him starved, he gets full. So David HaMelech thought he's going to have relations in the morning, and that will protect him. And he forgot the halakha that if you don't have relations, more of a chance that you'll be better. So now what happens? He wakes up in the nighttime. So he's walking on the roof. He's walking on the roof of the king's palace. And here he sees Bathsheba. And she was, what's it called? She was bathing. So Bathsheba hafar tutei halata. She was, what's it called? Shampooing her head, and she was behind a large cone, something that was hiding her from the view. She was in privacy. Satan came and it appeared to David in the form of a bird. And in a minute, we'll see why a bird. And it's from the Ben Yada. Remind me in a minute if I don't forget. But let's Hashem. And it became a bird. Patak be'gira. So David wanted to hunt that bird. So he shot an arrow. The arrow struck the privacy curtain or cone or whatever it was. And Igalia. There was Bathsheba. Hazia. He saw her. Miyad, right away, David, Mishat David, Bidrosh Isha, Yomer Halo Zot Batsheva, Bat Eliam, Eshit Uriah, Hachiti. Is this not Batsheva, daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah Hiti? Mishnah David Malachim, Mikahaya. And David sent his messengers, and they took her. They brought him to her, Vishkavima, was with her, and she was purified from her tuma, meaning that was the night that she finished Nida, and she went to Mikvah and everything. Betashov el Betam, and she returned to her house. So David the Melech had this temptation, and he was nichshel, and he made this sin, so to speak. Okay, just quickly on the bird. The many others says, why does it say why Hashem made a Satan come in appearance of a bird? He says, based on the Midrash Rabbah, Shemot Rabbah, why was the name of Moshe Rabbeinu's wife Tzipora? Why was she called Tzipora? What does Tzipora have to do with anything? Why was Yitro's daughter Tzipora? So says the Shemot Rabbah, says the Midrash Rabbah, that Tzipora is a special bird, a Tzipor, that you use to be mitahir and mitzorah. You have a mitzorah, someone has tzarat, leprosy, spiritual leprosy, you would need a bird, the tzipora, to cleanse them. So a tzipora represents cleansing. And tzipora cleansed out the house of Yitro from all Avodah Zarah. So that's why her name was Tzipora. So says Ben Uyada, based on that midrash, we can say here that Tzipor, why Dafka Tzipor? Tzipor represents purification, tshuva. David HaMelech, it says in Mesech Avodah Zarah that David HaMelech sinned like this to teach people that they can always make tshuva, that you could become like a tzipor. Tzipor, you can use the purification process. Now, the note 19 is an important note, and I know we're not there yet, but I think at this point we can take a look at it quickly. So there's a Gemara that says, Kol Omer David Hata Eno Ela Torah. Anybody who says David made a sin, he's only mistaken. The Melech Shalom was never with a married woman. So what did happen? How do you get out of this? Clearly it says that she was married to Uriah. So two ideas. There are some that say that all the soldiers of the Melech army, when they went out to war, they gave a conditional get. That if they died, then the woman would be divorced from when the document was originally given. And Uriah, anyway, is set up to die. And so retroactively, she was not an Eshedesh. And therefore, there was no sin to that degree. The others explain it. It makes more sense the other way. Is that, no, they didn't give a conditional get. They gave an unconditional get. They gave an unconditional get, and they were divorced as soon as they went out to the war. And when they came back home, if they were still alive, then they would get remarried to their wives. So at this time, she was unmarried. She had a divorce document, and it was the 3-month period was waited already. It was all okay, so to speak, on a halachic level. David definitely felt that it was wrong because David is going to be asking for forgiveness, and through this first encounter, the baby they had died, right? The baby for Shlomo Melech, and obviously it looked very bad. And in addition, we already learned that Bathsheba was the granddaughter of Achitophel. So you can just see how this plays into Achitophel, trying to side with David Melech's son, Avshalom, to depose David, to get rid of him, because he's upset. Hey, this guy just took his granddaughter in a very unseemingly way. Unfortunately, say that added on fuel to the flame that Achitophel had against David. So regardless, this is what happened. Let's take a look a little more. This is what it says. You examine my heart, search my night, refine me, but did not find me pure. It didn't find me pure. Zamoti, so she says, you tested me and I messed up. Zamoti vaya. Let my scheming not cross my lips. Aman. Iku zemama nafal befumeh, the man desane li. But that a muzzle had fallen upon my mouth of my enemy, the Melech saying, I wish my mouth was shut. And I would never have said such a thing. It's not good to be tested, says David. For the conductor by David, in God I have taken refuge. How can you say to me, your mountain was moved by a bird? Please forgive me on that sin. They shouldn't say, the mountain of them. A little bird made him sin. All right. Here he's the king, he's the har. Not only he's a king, he's a mountain, but we say Esaina el Hiharim. Hiharim is the Horim, the parents, which is the Avot. You wanted to be like the Avot, who are like the mountains of Klai Yisrael, and you wanted to be a mountain, and what happened? A little bird came and made him sin. He didn't want people to say that. You alone I sinned, and that which evil in your eyes I did. That you should be justified when you speak and correct when you judge. Really, says David to Hashem, really, it's known by you that I could have overcome this temptation of Bathsheba. But remember, you told me that I'm not going to pass, and that's why you didn't give me the test, and I said, test me anyway, because you said that I'm not going to pass. Therefore, I on purpose failed, says David HaMelech. I could have withstand the temptation of Bathsheba, but I did it in order to make you right. And the Maral, in note 23, he's like, this whole thing. Come on. How can David HaMelech say this? I failed in order to make you right. Come on. So, did David initially think that he could test God? And can it be that David was better able than God to assess his own character? Maral explains, Gemara doesn't mean to justify David's act, but to shed light on the reason for his failure. David's sin was fundamentally different from the typical sin. The person who sins does so because evil inclination gets the better of him. David certainly possessed the strength of character needed to resist the temptation of taking Bathsheba, but he was defeated by external forces. Okay, if it was just David's Yetzer Hara, he could have dealt with it, but here it was more. Take a look at the next paragraph. In conclusion, David cannot be compared to anyone else who sinned. For David's failure resulted not from deficiency of character. His character was exemplary, just like the Avot, but from overreaching his preordained bounds. Okay, that everybody has their test, and your test you can pass because you have the ability to fight the Yetzer Hara. But this was something more, and therefore his Yetzer Hara wasn't able to fight it. If you take a look at the next paragraph, he says that the flaw originally a slight trace of pride in his own spiritual sense. He was a little Baal Gaiva, saying that he could be like the Avot. Hashem wished to purge David of his slight imperfection, and therefore allowed him to fall by withholding his usual assistance into an embarrassing sin that left David completely humble. This sin with Bathsheba was entirely out of character of David, but Hashem decreed that David should commit in order to show him where repentance was needed. That's what we spoke about. The Gemara Masechet Avodah Zarah. Anyway, that's that Gemara. Now, on Dara Shavah, Ma Dichtiv, Ki Ani Latzela Nachon Muchavi Negdi Tamid. I was suited for the rib, but my pain is always before me. Says David HaMelech, the rib representing like Chava comes from the rib. That Bathsheba and David were supposed to be together. There was already a planting from the times of the 6 days of creation. Now, the question is, we're talking about 6 days of creation. Usually we say, when a person is born, it says, Arbim Yom Koidim, right? 4 days before conception. It says, who's going to be for who? Well, which shidduch is going to be? So why does it say here, Shesh Yemei Bereshit? So either it means, before it was supposed to be together, but more on a Kabbalistic level is as follows, is that who was David, Neshama? David, we know, got 70 years of life from Adam HaRishon. So Adam's neshama is in David HaMelech. And Bathsheba was a Gilgul of Hava. So it was supposed to be. Adam and Hava supposed to get back together. It was Mishishi Bereshit. It was the 6 days of Bereshit. So, and they were supposed to be. But he came through a scandal, came through pain. And that's what Ishmael taught. It's supposed to be, but unfortunately, he ate it too early. He didn't wait for it to become ripe, meaning there was a time for it. It would happen. Eventually, it would happen. David HaMelech jumped the gun, so to speak. And that caused a big scandal. A lot of times in life, certain things are supposed to come your way. And a person has to wait for it to come his way. He's not supposed to jump the gun and do it in an illegal way. Right? That's Korach and many other examples that we have of people jumping the gun, thinking that they saw something, but they have no idea what they saw. But when I limped, they rejoiced and gathered. They limped, gathered against me, but I gave it no thought. They tore at me, and I would not be silent. You know that if they would cut my flesh, no blood will come out of me. Since I fast so much, there's no blood in me. Also, because they keep embarrassing me, so all my blood drains out. When they are learning about the Abba Midot Bedin, or another Gemara, they're learning anything, the Horot or something, they stop and they say, David, someone comes with another man's wife. What is the punishment? So Amarti Lahem, right? They're taunting him. Amarti Lahem, come on, Ish, you get the punishment of strangulation. He makes tshuva, he gets into olam haba. But if someone embarrasses his friend in public, he will not have olam haba. So you guys think you're being smart? You're actually losing olam haba. Amri udamarav. Afilu mishat halav shel David. Even when David was in a period of illness, Kiyem Shmoneh Esrei Onot, he still made sure that he was fulfilling his 18 obligations to his 18 wives. So the word ascheh can be like siha, talking during the intimacy. He's soiling the bed through the stains of intimacy. So show, even though he's having problems, he doesn't let his problems affect others, right? Keeping his problems to himself, so to speak, not letting it get him down. David. David HaMelech wanted to serve Avodah Zarah. What? David was coming to the summit Rosh, where he used to bow down to God. And Rosh is nothing but Avodah Zarah. Shneimar Utzama Reshed Dahav Tav. The image his head was a fine gold. So he wanted to go serve Avodah Zarah. Hoshi Ha'arki. Karua Kutunato Ma'adama Al Roshah. Hoshi Ha'arki came and he put on torn garment, put earth on his head as if he was mourning. Amal David, Hoshi said to David, Yomru Melech Shekimotecha Ya'avon Avodah Zarah. Should they say to David Melech, serve Avodah Zarah? Amar Melech Shekimoti Yaregenu Beno. Should they say that Avshalom, David Melech's son, is going to kill him? I don't want to make a chil Hashem, says David Melech. I don't want people to say, wow, David Melech was killed by his son. That's terrible. I rather that I serve Avodah Zarah. This way people will say, Avshalom killed me because of Avodah Zarah, and not that a son will kill his father. Now, obviously, David Melech didn't mean to actually bow down to Avodah Zarah. Rather, he would bow down to Hashem next to Avodah Zarah, and people would think that he was serving Avodah Zarah, even though he wasn't doing that. But he, was doing this L'Shem Shemaim, so people would say that his son Avshalom was not killing him just Stam, but rather because he served with the Zara. Some Sofer wants to say that a Melech didn't want people to think that his son is killing him based on the sin of Bathsheba. Rather, he wanted it to be a sin of the Zara, so people wouldn't say that his sin with Bathsheba was the reasoning. So Amar Chushi said to him, no, people are not going to think that. Ma tama ke kon sivat yafat toar. Why did you marry a yafat toar? Yafat toar is this Goyish woman that is captured in war, and the Torah allows you to marry her. So why did you marry her? So Amalek David said, Yifat toar rahmana sharia. Yifat toar, the Torah says is allowed to marry. Amalek, who she said to David, Lo darash smuchin. You didn't learn the psukim next to it, right after the parsha of Yafat toar. It says a person will have two wives. One snua, one awuba, one nice, one not nice. And then the snua is going to be the mimachor. And then right after it says, you're going to have a ben torah moreh. Eventually, if you marry and Yafat toar, you're going to come to a rebellious son. And that's what Avshalom. Avshalom's mother was Ma'achab, the daughter of the Geisha king, Talmai of Gishur. So there you go. You got a Geisha wife from the permission of the Yafat toar, and you ended up with the Ben Sodom Moreh. That's what people are going to say. Nothing to do with the Yasina Batsheva, nothing to do with you. You don't have to serve with the Zara because people will have a reasoning anyway of Yafat toar. Darash Rebi Dostai Dimin Beri. Lama David Dome. So what can David be compared to? The Soher Kuti, to a Kuthin merchant, very effective salesman, who, when selling, they would sell in small numbers, and then they're making a customer buy more and more in order to make a very large purchase and pay for it at once. So let's see. She got me. Who can know my mistakes? Meaning, can you forgive me for my mistakes? I forgive you. And for my unknown sins, the ones I made by accident, that no one knows. I said, I'll forgive you. Also from intentional sins. Please spare your servant. Shem says, I'm Shlubi as a tam. Let them not rule over me. That the rabbis should not talk about me, saying, like David, who made that sin. You're forgiven. And I shall be cleansed of a great transgression. Please don't write me down in the Naviim that I made the sin. Amar lo, Baruch said, okay, hold on. I cannot take out what's already written in Tanakh. Why not? Uma Yud. When I took the Yud away from Sarai and I made her Sarah, Omed v'tzoveach kamashani. The Yud was standing for many years and complaining. Ad sheba Yehoshua ve'osafti l'to. Until Yehoshua came, as it says, Shneimah v'yikam Moshe leHoshea benun Yehoshua. I took the Yud from Sarai and I moved it there. How can I remove a whole section of Tanakh about the sin of Bathsheba and get rid of it? What am I going to do? They're going to be complaining. I can't. Once it's written in Tanakh, it's got to stay there, right? I think in the end of the day, the lesson that can be learned is that a sin happened. Yeah, it happened. You want to do tshuva and stuff like that. You can't erase the fact that the sin happened. The sin happened. You can learn from it and stuff like that, and move on from it and change as the person for it and get forgiven for it as well. But at the end of the day, it's there and you have to learn from it. So you can't erase it from the Torah. Now should be cleansed of great transgression. I'm going to find David said for Hashem. Please forgive me from that sin in entirety. Amar. Hashem said to him, soon your son is going to come, Shlomo Melech, and he's going to teach with his wisdom. Can a man play with fire and his clothing won't get burned? Can a man walk on cold without getting his feet burnt? Same. Someone goes with his fellow's wife and he's with her. He cannot say nothing happened. Something happened. David said, am I completely rejected? Can I do nothing? Hashem said, there is one way out. Accept upon yourself the suffering to cleanse you. Suffering cleanses a person of the effects of a sin. David HaMelech accepted the suffering upon himself to get cleansed from that sin. Amar Yehuda Amarav Shisha Hadashim Nitzterad David. David HaMelech was a mitzorah for 6 months. V'nistalaka Hemenu Shechina. And the Shechina went away from him. Ufirshu Mimenu Sanhedrin. And the Sanhedrin went away from him. Nitztara, they became a mitzorah dichtiv. Right? Use the Ezov, the one that you used to help, the hyssop grass that you used to help the mitzvah become pure, use it on me. So it must be that he was mitzvah. It says, and return me to the joy. You can't have Shekhinah without joy. So at one point he didn't have joy, so he needed to come back. Return to me those who fear you. Bring me back the Sanhedrin. So you see, he wasn't there. And it was for 6 months. How do you know 6 months? It said that he was king for 40 years. And in Hebron he was 7 years. And in Yerushalayim he was 33 years. So 33 and 7 is 40. 40 years he was king. 7 in Hebron, 33 in Yerushalayim. Another pasuk says he was in Hebron 7 years and a half. So why is it not reckoned in the first pasuk? You know why? It was a 6-month period, but he wasn't really king during that 6 months somewhere in the between, because he was a mitzorah and he couldn't function as king. And that's how we know 6 months was he was a mitzorah. The only problem was with this psukim, it says that he was 7.5 years in Hebron, and a half year of mitzorah is in Hebron, but the story of Bathsheba happened when he was in Yerushalayim, so it should be the 6 months stayed in Yerushalayim. And those who say, yeah, it's okay, even if it's there, it's showing that there were 6 months that wasn't counted, and it could be that it happened in Yerushalayim. Anyway, Amar Lefanov, please forgive me for that sin. Again, the sin of Bathsheba, which really wasn't a halachically sin, but it looked, the optics of it was terrible. Hashem said, I guess after he accepted the suffering and everything, Hashem said, I forgive you. Display for me a sign of good so that my enemies may see it and be ashamed. Hashem, please make it known to everybody that I was forgiven. Amar lo, Hashem says David, I'm not going to make it known in your lifetime. I'll make it known during the lifetime of your son Shlomo HaMelech. Here we have the famous story. When Shlomo HaMelech built the Beit HaMikdash, he wanted to bring the Aron HaKodesh into the Kodesh Kodashim. And the gates of the Kodesh Kodashim were stuck, couldn't get open. Amar Isrim Barbar Rinanot. They said the 24 songs and prayer, the first 24 parakim of Tehillim. Lo Na'ana. Amar, they said the parak of Tehillim 24 that says, Rushem Rashechem Misu Petchei Olam Yavo Melech HaKavod. Mizeh Melech HaKavod Adonai Yizus Givu Adonai Givu Mechama. V'nema, So'u Sharim Rashechem Misu Petchei Olam Yavo Melech HaKavod. They said all these famous psukim about allowing it to come in with Lo Na'ana. And there was an answer. But then, Kivan Sha'amar, when Shlomo Melech said, Adonai Elohim, Al Tasher Pnei Meshichecha, Zorcha Lechesed, David Avdecha. Remember the chesed of David, your servant. As soon as he said David, your servant, remember him, remember the zchut of David, then what? As you can read in note 10, and Shlomo, and now Solomon finished praying, the fire descended from heavens, and the glory of Hashem filled the house. Miyad na'ana, they were immediately answered. Enemies of David, who were always talking behind his back that he was a sinner who sinned with a married woman, their faces turned dark as they saw that the Aron didn't go into the Kodesh Kodashim, and everything didn't happen until they mentioned David's chut. V'yidu kol Yisrael shemahal HaKadosh Baruch Hu al oto avon. All of Israel knew that Hashem blessed as he had forgiven David for that sin. Let's look at note 12, and we'll finish with this. The reason David's forgiveness was made in these circumstances is as following. David had originally sought to build a temple, but Hashem decreed that David's son Shlomo would be the one to build it. Since David Melech had many blood on his hands, right, fought many wars, Shlomo Melech was built, had a time of peace, Pak Solomon. David's enemies, however, claimed that God did not allow David to build the temple due to his displeasure with David over Bathsheba's incident. God therefore chose the climax of the temple's inauguration, the moment of bringing the Ark into the Holy of Holies, to demonstrate that the temple was built and the divine presence would reside in it only in David's merit. In effect, that the temple was inaugurated by David. This is the meaning of the pasuk that we say, Sher Hanukat Abayit li David. The song for the inauguration of the house by David. And not let my enemies rejoice over me. Okay, that's in the Torah Hayim. And that will conclude today's Gemara lesson from Masechet Sanhedrin. So the whole story of David and Achi Tofel. All right, we're going to stop the recording at this point.